Preparing. We're now live on Facebook.
All
Granted,
right.
I don't see it, so sooner or later we'll get all of the pieces together here. And there we go. We are rolling. Yay. Okay. Gosh, I've missed our Monday morning coffee and compliance.
We only missed 1 week, I think.
But it feels like forever because
Well, I mean,
all we've done is sat in meetings for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we missed 1 week, but that means we haven't done this since 2 weeks ago. So I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I was just tired of being at my desk and being on Zoom. So I was not on the computer much this weekend, other than some work, but I stayed off the internet as much as I could.
Yeah, it was body part numbing.
Yeah, it was, including the brain. Yes.
Yes.
So,
all kinds of body parts.
And we'll remind everybody, normally CAR is 1 week and NAR is 1 week, and it was like 2.5 weeks of CAR ended on a Friday, and then come Monday morning we had NAR. And oh, by the way, we had already had a couple of NAR meetings before NAR started, and then it lasted 2 weeks. So it's been 4 weeks. I'm done. I'm done for now.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It has been a lot. And then right when we think everything's just, let us do our reports and kind of recover, then we get some fun information last week, didn't we?
We did. We
did.
So I'm sure everyone obviously knows, and so we'll just jump right into it. If you didn't know, open houses are back, with some caveats, but they're back. And it's interesting, Lisa and I were chatting, because we all just kind of expected, well, if nothing changes come June 15th, there should be a bunch of changes. And in the meantime, I had reported, CAR is talking with the Department of Health and talking specifically about open houses, and they're working on it and they're making movement. And even with that knowledge, I don't think any of us were really prepared that Wednesday night when that email came out, which, by the way, I didn't even see till Thursday morning. So I was, I like to stay pretty informed.
6:11 p.m. is the optimal time to send out an email.
Well, I normally will work into the night. I obviously working from home, you set your schedule, and I've got a rigorous schedule during the day with occasional blocks of time that I can just have for me time. And then I like working at night. I like jumping on my computer and doing all of that repetitious work or reading, all the latest notices. But that night I had company over, and I just said, I'm not doing any of it. Even when my company left, I'm done for the night. I've given my all to real estate in the last 4 weeks. I'm taking the night off. And then bam, 7 a.m.
I wake up and look what happened.
All hell broke loose overnight, and I was oblivious to it. So, it's okay. I slept good that night, so I didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, so I think it was quite the surprise. And I think what was the biggest surprise was, hey, you can do it, but we don't know exactly what that looks like yet. So don't really do it yet. And then Friday morning was, here's the guidance. So if you haven't heard, there is guidance, there are rules. And an important note before I forget is not all areas are allowing it. So I was communicating with one of my broker clients who is in the Pasadena area, who emailed me saying, it's not allowed in Pasadena or LA County as of Friday morning. Now, I haven't checked in. I would think that her assistant would let me know, hey, it's allowed now. So as soon as it is allowed, I can let everybody know if I find out. But at least for now, City of Pasadena and all of LA County is not allowing the open houses as of last Friday morning. If that's changed, I'm not sure. But we're not in LA County. We don't have any listings in LA County right now, so I haven't really stayed up on their guidance.
which means you better check before you do one. You
Yeah, and the
better.
reality is, I mean, things may change on a daily basis, just like in the beginning of COVID. And so you need to be checking, we all need to be checking every day, what's the latest information, what can and can we not do. And it may change hourly. I mean, that's what was going on this time last year. Things were changing hourly, it seemed like.
Yeah, and that's where it gets difficult because, we discussed a little bit about the rollout where it was like, hey, you can do it, but the information that we needed to do one properly wasn't quite there, and it comes out a little bit more and a little bit more. And like Lori said, CAR was preparing for it, but I don't think anybody was ready the day that the news broke. And there has been a lot of changes. I mean, just, between Thursday at 6:11 p.m. and 9 o'clock this Monday, lots of new forms are out. But I really think that, the most important thing is know what's happening in your area and what you can do. And we have a comment in the chat from Tony saying, where is the single source to know if one can or can't do an open house?
Is that referring to like the municipalities that allow and don't allow? Do you think that's what the question is?
Well, I think probably, where would you check? If you're a confused realtor saying, I want to do what's right.
Well, CAR, I would suggest CAR as the main source because they are pulling from a variety of sources, and so we'll put the link to the page there. And in the quick guide that they have put together for us, trying to pull it up on my screen, they do have. Was it that one? There is a link to the covid19.ca.gov page that does show you the tiers for the county and information related to that. And we're in Orange County, and we have a what's the word I want to use? We have a thought process here that we will only go with the strictest rule that the governor imposes on us. So we don't have some of the added restrictions like some of the other counties do, because we were a little more free about it. I knew that Pasadena had their own health department, so I wasn't sure what their protocols would have been. And we all know that City of LA had some extreme restrictions. So I was expecting her to say City of LA doesn't allow it. I wasn't expecting County of LA to not allow it. So I would say that the quick guide from CAR has that link, and then you link over, and then you just have to spend some time browsing to make sure you know what you're looking for.
And there's another remark saying they have city and county tiers, and that's another thing. Every county is going to be different on the level that it's open. And I believe LA was at the yellow tier, which is, I guess, the best tier. Me and my tier knowledge are a little off. Whereas Orange County is still in the orange tier, I believe. And that's a little bit more restrictive. But then you're saying that the ones with the yellow tiers have, overrides either the county or the cities. So it's going to be really important to know, CAR is a good place to get your base information. If your license is hung with a brokerage and your license is under someone else's license, go talk to the person, either the broker of record or your office manager, and find out what your company protocol is. Because, if you're a salesperson, you just can't be running around willy-nilly doing whatever you want, so be sure you're doing what your company's telling you to do. And if you're an independent broker, what advice do you have for the independent brokers out there? Start at CAR.
Yeah, that's kind of the angle I was coming from. Since we are independent, you go to CAR for the source, but absolutely, if you work for a broker, then you need to be following their guidelines because they are required to supervise you, and therefore they have to create the policy. As an independent, rather than create our own policy, I've adopted the CAR's guidance as our policy, because most of it, they're pulling directly from the state, from all of the state sources, all of the state language. When you start reading it, you say, I feel like I read this already. Well, it's because they're copying and pasting so that they are as accurate as possible. So yeah, that's where I would start if I was an independent, is start with the information they've provided. The quick guide is essentially a policy. You know, when you read through it, there are 12 questions on it, or 12 points on it, and this very well can be your company policy. You may have to expand a little bit on it, but not much.
Yeah, it's a pretty good document, you know, that's out there now. It's the quick guide, dated May 12th, pretty much. It tells you about advertising open houses, no appointments required for open house attendees. Multiple groups are now allowed on the property. Everybody's got to wear a face mask, even if you're vaccinated. People need to sign in digitally or in writing, which is new. Because now, if you looked at this form like I did, the open house and showing guidelines sign-in sheet, obviously, if you're, you know, there's a whole lot of lines here, which means a whole lot of people can be signing the same piece of paper, which is new. We haven't done that in well over a year.
Yeah, it's definitely new. You know, they're giving you options. You can still require the PEDS if you like, or you can use their form, or you can do a digital version, or you can create your own other paper form. The rule is you have to have a sign-in, and so the sign-in can either be the PED or it can be any of those other sign-in options. The
And they have a
key,
new PED too, a
yeah,
single
there's
pager that doesn't have anywhere for the agent to sign except for down here with initials.
well, if you're a visitor, you still sign it though.
Yeah, but it only gives you 2 spots. We used to have 3. So it would be your clients would sign one and then you would sign your own.
Yeah, you'd sign your own because you're making the declaration that I am not sick. And you can use this same document, this exact same one, send it once. And if you go into escrow and you go to that property multiple times, you can rely on this original one you've already submitted, unless your condition has changed, unless you've been exposed, or unless you have symptoms. Then, and it's actually, I really like how they did the PED form, because they simplified it for us, but it specifically says in the last couple of sentences in bold of the first paragraph, a visitor does not need to sign a separate form for each property or every entry, but instead may provide a copy of a signed PED all, which is this form, to the occupant or broker or agent representing the occupant. This form should not be used if circumstances change and the representations are no longer accurate. And then in 2C, it says you will inform the broker if after the date this document is signed, there's a change in your health condition or knowledge that potentially puts others at risk or invalidates the representations made in this document, in which case you will cease using this PED all as a representation to any other person. So you just now need to get it one time. And, you know, it's prudent to ask your client, you know, has anything changed? We're going to be going looking at other properties today, or we're going to be going back to the property. Just want to make sure nothing has changed from that original one you signed on whatever date. And if that's the case, no changes, and I would document that in your file that you asked, then you don't need another document if nothing has changed.
Well, and here's a question for you. So let's say you know, out with my clients, they sign the form, I've got their original. Should I make copies and bring them with me and leave them at the property, electronically transmit them, not worry about it unless the agent asks me? What should I be doing from the?
Well, it's a good question. You're responsible for providing it to the other party. Wherever you're going, you're responsible. However you choose to do it is up to you. You know, I think there's going to be some confusion because there's multiple ways to do it. So while you might say, hey, for my listings, I'm going to have a sign-in sheet there. If you go to a listing, they might say, no, we want the PEDS. So be flexible, be understanding, especially in the beginning. There's confusion. There are people, there will be out of 200,000 realtors in California, there's probably 190,000 who don't know about this.
Yeah.
So be patient, be flexible. I would get it signed and have copies. If you could send an email, that's better because then you're not passing paper, which is not an issue anymore, but why bother if you don't have to? It's easier to just do it on email.
I don't know. I'm thinking I might just make like a little package and staple my business card onto the front. Instead of just leaving a business card, I'll leave a bunch of paperwork.
Hey, you got to use up some of those business cards after all.
I haven't passed them out in a year.
I know. The box of 1,000 is getting dusty. So
It's about time. It's about time.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best advice I can give today is be patient and be flexible because everyone's going to be on a different page for months because that's what happened this time last year. And so, while we all think, hey, it's great to be digital and we don't have to do this, you don't know what the other agent is going to expect. So if you have your PED form and you emailed it over and they ask you to digitally sign, don't be a brat. Just do it. Just do it, move on, get it done. These are not the types of situations, in my opinion, to fight the good fight. Like, this isn't a battle you need to win.
I think probably the best thing to do is do whatever is comfortable for you, but also comply with whatever you are asked to do, because everybody's going to be doing something completely different, just like you said.
Yeah, because there is more than one way to do it. And, you may even want to just put in the MLS on your listing. What is your plan? My plan is going to be, I want the PED all, or my plan is you're going to have to click this link and digitally sign in. That would be helpful.
Yes, showing instructions. It's a wonderful thing.
I feel like this is the more you know rainbow. Okay. You have a question there.
We do have a question. Carla says, what about Cal OSHA? I looked it up for real estate guidelines and still shows July 2020. Does anyone know?
So I looked just as we were getting on and they did update it finally. So it's under the real estate transaction. I have like 1,000 tabs open, so I'm trying to find which one it is. It's under the industry guidance and it is the real estate transaction updated May 12th. And then you click on the guidance and it's 4 pages. It's only 4 pages. It used to be like 12 pages. And so when you look at the first couple of sections, it says workplace and it implies the office. But further down, it is 12 pages. I guess when I was looking at it earlier, it hadn't fully loaded.
I think it was wishful thinking.
I really thought because I even thought I know what it was the checklist. I downloaded a different, there is a checklist that is like for the office. The guidance says it's been updated. Oh, you're right. Well, the link says it's been updated May 12th, but the document is July 29th. So Carla, you're right. So no change. In this section though, before you get to that, when you click on real estate transaction, there's a paragraph. Okay, so it says follow this link for the guidance. That's the one that has not been updated since July. But then it has a paragraph about shown properties and open houses, a brief statement about that. The very last paragraph says review the guidance, prepare a plan, and post the checklist for real estate industry. When you click on that link for the real estate industry, it's the 4-page checklist that is the workplace specific plan and training your employees and screening and protocols. And then it talks about shown properties and physical distancing. So that is the one that's been updated. That's the 4-pager. I knew there was a 4-pager somewhere. I know I haven't had enough coffee, but I knew there was a 4-pager somewhere. So that's been updated. I haven't read through it yet, but it was longer. And so I think most likely they've just updated the shown properties section to reflect the language they posted in that paragraph above.
Let's see, what else do they have on this quick guide? Let's see, can I still just use the PV? Yes.
You can.
And let's see, how can I determine what the maximum number of people allowed in the property? That's kind of a bizarre sentence, but I read it word for word.
Well, no, that is an interesting question because with the tiers, they're focused on the gatherings and each tier has a maximum number of people that can gather and from separate households. And it makes reference to, you know, go to the link for the guidance on gatherings and look at the tiers. And it talks about in the red tier, you can have like 25 people, and in the orange tier, you can have 50 people. Okay, we are not going to have 50 people in a house. We know that. So I literally heard that last week. Well, you know, I can have 50 people. Well, you'd be crazy if you can have 50 people, because you have to have the space for it. And so it further explains you still have to have 6 feet of distance between people of different households. So be reasonable. Don't, you know, this isn't Disneyland where just, you know, everyone can come in. Like, you need to still impose some type of control when you're doing open houses. And, you know, if you've got a 2-story house, maybe you can have 2 parties upstairs and 2 parties downstairs and a party in the backyard. Sounds like a big party. As long as it's not more than the 25 or 50 people max. But, you know, they're going to be passing in the halls. So I would just do yourself a favor and try to space it out a little bit. Maybe it's 3 parties. Maybe it's 2 parties downstairs and only one party upstairs. And until they come back down the stairs, you don't let another party up. So be reasonable with it. Be logical with it. Don't have a herd of people if you don't need to. There's going to be plenty of time to let everyone in.
Yeah, you know, and really from a practical standpoint, still having, you know, relatively loose appointment times doesn't hurt. You know, just if you have agents that are showing, you know, and you're running an open house at the same time, I think, you know, from a professional standpoint, I think giving courtesy to the people that have made the appointment to get in or let you know that they're coming, you know, those people should be honored with, you know, they shouldn't have to get in line with if there's lines. It's going to be interesting to see really what happens, because there was lines when it was appointment only. I'm going to be curious. In fact, I think I'm going to call an agent that I only saw one open house this weekend myself. And I know the agent that was holding it, and I think I'm going to contact them and ask, how did it go? You know, did you have tons of people? Was there even adequate time to, you know, post that you were doing it? You know, that to me was kind of like hey, it's Thursday night, we're going to do an open house this weekend. You know, that's pretty nutty. But, you know, you're going to just have to, you know, play traffic cop a little bit more. You know, it's going to be get somebody to come help you. Have somebody, you know, working the door, making people sign in or whatever, and then another one just making sure that everybody's coming and going and answering questions or whatever. So, you know, they're going to probably not be the open houses that we were, you know, accustomed to, 2019-ish. So, you know, ask for help. Don't be shy on that front and ask for help, because you're probably going to need it. But I think giving the professional courtesy to the people that have contacted you before would be a really good idea. And just because you can doesn't mean you should with those, you know, tier levels. You know, Orange County, it'd be 25 people. That's still a lot of people when you really think about it. I mean, it's like, would you have 25 people at your house? You know, it would be a heck of a party if I did. And then I had to rotate them through, you know, I mean, that would be pretty bad. Let's see what we've got going here. We'll cover the next, Pam has a question about the signs. I know that's coming up. That's the next thing. What is required for posted rules for entry? And
so there's an updated PRE, posted rules of entry, and it's required to be on the houses. And I really have not seen very many. It's got to be in a visible place, but there is a new posted rules of entry. It's not as scary looking. It's more simplified, but it covers all of the same rules. Some of the same rules we had before, which is hand washing or sanitizing, wearing the face covering, social distance 6 feet apart, and avoid touching the surfaces. And they list a lot of surfaces, and I'm like, ew, people really touch all those things.
Oh yeah, and more.
And more.
And more.
Yeah, so it's a simplified version, but it does need to be posted. And you do need to, you know, remember with the PEDS, we had the attached, the BPP, the best practices document. Well, now that it doesn't look like that updated version of the BPP is going to be attached to the PED. And so you're required to make sure that you provide it. So either in a link, put it on the MLS, but whoever's doing showings, make sure that they are providing that to their people, to their buyers.
And something I thought that was really interesting is the change of the cleaning protocols. They're a lot more lax. I mean, I still would, I mean, you still have to have disinfecting wipes or some sort of disinfectant. You still got to have hand sanitizer available. You have to have mask on. And then it's like you only have to clean the house once a day.
Well, and honestly, I did not read that as lax because I know how lax people got. That to me, it was like, I mean, we were like obsessive with it, making sure we had supplies. And I mean, I hear stories from across the state where people are like, yeah, listing agents aren't providing anything because it's the buyer's agent responsibility. That was the one change that I thought was the most shocking last year, that it became the buyer's responsibility. And then the listing agent didn't even have to provide anything. At least this one's pretty clear. The property needs to have those items there, including masks, just in case. And it says in one of these documents, if those supplies are not there, then you shouldn't show the property. Now, you can have your own and take care of it and still show it, but I thought that was interesting. So to me, it felt like it put the burden back on the listing agent. However, it is only once a day rather than in between showings.
Yeah.
So if I was showing a buyer, what?
I said micro ban is a wonderful thing.
Well, if I was showing a buyer, I'd be like, you know, this house is going to be really dirty. So let's put on our gloves and let me touch everything for you with the disinfectant wipe. That's how I would do it, because I still think that, you know, there's some germs out there. And if nothing else, there's just like normal germs. Because
yeah, when you really think about it, you know, I mean, and I know I brought this up in previous sessions, but, you know, we would have the people that are like, well, yeah, you can come by and see the house. Just don't go in the one bedroom because my kid's sick. And it's like, do you think that the whole house isn't full of germs in the first place? And, you know, the one good thing about the mask and all of that is, you know, we're not catching colds and we're not getting the flu. There's a little something to be said, whether you're vaccinated or not, which we'll talk offline about the whole mask and whatever, all the crazy shit. All of the crazy stuff, you know, that I just heard about this morning. But there's, you know, I mean, there's good things about keeping a house clean. There's good things about mask wearing. There's some good stuff that can help us stay healthy if we continue with some of this protocol. And I got like these little packages of disinfectant wipes that actually fit in my purse. And it's a full-size pack of wipes, but it's not the big canister. And I have a showing purse. It's full of hand sanitizer and wipes, and I keep my mask, you know, box of mask in the car. And, you know, that tends to be all I need. Now, there was a comment that Olivia just put in, and I'll get to Carla's and Olivia's comments, previous ones, but she said booties. I don't think booties are really of much help other than keeping the floor clean.
Yeah, I never thought that they were helpful. I mean, granted, I don't wear my shoes in my own house, but I don't expect people to put booties on. And I think it's more of a risk, you know, a trip hazard. Most of the time they're gross. There's nothing that I read that said anything about booties. I think that kind of went by the wayside, and it was just more personal preference months ago.
Yeah, because I think once they made the correlation from, you know, the virus in being aerosol versus virus in contact, it was kind of like, you know, I mean, you can ask for, you know, booties or shoes off if you've got new flooring, or if it's, you know, one of those houses where people just want shoes off. But, you know, it's really for, you know, asking people to, you know, put them on for COVID reasons. That's not in the statements anymore. You know, it actually, You know, I do like the thing that says no showing should take place if these products are not available to those entering the property. I mean, that's like some common sense, listing agents. How much money are you making? You can afford a thing of Clorox wipes. You can find Clorox wipes. They're out there. It's not like at the beginning of the pandemic where everything was like, how are we going to get this? Because I mean, back then we had some serious concerns. Right now, you can get masks. You know, go ask your favorite rep from wherever. You know, I'm sure that they would be happy to give you mask or, you know, I'm sure branded hand sanitizer. You can get the wipes. You can order it at Costco. It's the least you can do, which is amazing for how many properties I've seen. No cleaning stuff, maybe a thing of hand sanitizer on the other side of the house. No, you know, definitely no signs posted. I mean, it's almost a miracle to find a house that has a sign posted out front like they should be. But, you know, just keep your stuff with you and it's all good. One of the other things that was in there, we have a whole bunch of comments about booties and stuff going on. Let's see. Okay, Carla, we talked about the sanitation during open house. I think if you're there, you probably know if people are being weird and touching things. And, you know, again, as a listing agent, I think I would be keeping wipes handy when I'm seeing people touching things, full counter cleanings and stuff like that. Maybe not so much unless you're seeing people gathering and touching everything. Because there's people that do that. You have your highly tactile people that I need to see.
I touch everything.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't touch things in when I'm showing houses or looking at houses, but I mean, if I'm in a store, it's like, oh, let me see, and I see with my hands and my eyes.
Yeah, and you know, people want to see how does that stone feel on that kitchen counter and stuff like that. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things, you know, that's the first thing I find myself doing. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I just touched everything. So I think it would just behoove you if you're doing an open house, keep, you know, that's probably why you should have a couple of people. You know, you've got somebody manning the door and keeping count. And then, you know, somebody could be in there wiping things down, answering questions, being sure people are moving along and not just sitting in a, you know, bedroom somewhere having a huge conversation. You know, I think it's going to be a little bit more work. But there was another thing that Olivia put in here that I thought was really interesting. I just got to find it. Said, I had drop-bys to see open house and I offered them an appointment in 30 minutes and they passed. Keeps looky-loos and neighbors from checking out the house, people that aren't serious.
Interesting, yeah.
I like that. If they're not willing to wait, then they don't need to get in.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, because
people want some free entertainment and this isn't going to be the place for it, hopefully again.
If you want your house porn, you're just going to have to go to Zillow and Redfin and all those other wonderful sites out there, you know, stay out of the houses, because that's, to me, that's kind of like the best part of not doing open houses. I know we all like to do open houses so we can meet the neighbors and they can see our signs and we can talk to them and start those relationships and stuff. But when you really think about who comes into open houses, most of them are just people that are bored driving around. They have no intention. They're not pre-approved. You know, you can hold a conversation with a neighbor out in the front yard. You don't need to have them in the house. They don't really need to be, you know, in the house. But yeah, that's one of the good things about not doing open houses. You don't have to deal with all of that.
Yeah, there is one more form we didn't talk about yet, and that's the LOHA. It should be Aloha.
I was going to say we're going to Hawaii.
The Aloha. The listing agreement open house addendum or amendment. So this replaces the RLA CAA, the listing agreement coronavirus addendum. And so if you have a current listing where you use that form, you want to add this new LOHA form to amend that other document, because that other document didn't reference open houses. So if you have an existing listing, you should add this so that you can have that conversation with your seller about whether they want open houses or not. And if you take a new listing, you don't need that old form, you just use this new form. And it defaults to the seller agreeing to do the open houses, to allow the open houses, but you check a box if they do not want it. And you should talk through, the pros and cons. In a market like this, there's plenty of people wanting to get appointments. Do you really want or need an open house? Have the conversation. But I really love this paragraph 3, scope of broker duty. This is one of the best paragraphs, I think, for our protection I've read in a long time. So I'll read it. It says, seller understands and agrees that broker will abide by the terms of this addendum/amendment and use broker's best efforts to obtain compliance by others. We're going to use our best efforts to obtain compliance, but we're not guaranteeing compliance, okay? The broker will provide the seller with a copy of all the sign-in sheets and PEDs signed and received from any broker or other person entering. Broker cannot and will not verify the representations of others, nor guarantee their compliance with sellers and brokers' instructions. Broker cannot and will not physically prevent entrance to the property by others who do not agree to the instructions. If broker becomes aware of such person's failure to comply with the instructions, broker will promptly inform seller and take efforts to prevent such person's future access to the property. Seller wants the I love this. Seller wants the potential benefits and assumes all the risk of allowing others to enter the property. Seller releases broker and its agents from any loss, liability, expense, claim, or cause of action that arise from allowing entry upon the property or are related in any manner to this addendum or amendment. So I just love that because it doesn't have as much emphasis as I added. I wish it did, like with some bold, but there are some capital letters.
Like a stage production of Lori reading CAR forms.
My performance is complete. So, that's pretty great that, in my opinion, that, we're making it pretty clear that we are going to do our best effort to implement these rules, but we can't be responsible for those people out there who don't follow it, but we'll do our best. So,
and I think it's really interesting that, they have that part saying the seller wants the potential benefits and assumes the risk, because let's have an honest conversation here about open houses. Why are you doing an open house? Is it really for the benefit of your seller? Really? You're asking your seller to sign a form saying they're taking all the risk so you can do an open house. Just saying. Just saying. You can kind of tell my position on this. One thing I have not missed is open houses, because we've been technically, if you have a listing in this hot of a market, if you have a listing, you're doing an appointment only open house, whether you like it or not, on these listings. There's, until our inventory situation changes, why? Just go out and, here's a question. We didn't discuss this one. I'm going to blindside Lori. Can we drop flyers again?
Yeah. That was already approved a couple weeks ago.
But it's like, now it's like you can do a sign in, so there's really no gray area, not the gospel according to Gov. Go out and advertise your new listing. Go out and say, if you want to see it, make an exclusive appointment with me. I'll even bring hand sanitizer, whatever.
I know we have the Lisa Theater going on.
I'm the warm-up act for Lori. But, go out and market. Don't expect the people to come to you. Go to the people. Go market. Go do what do what we haven't been able to really do for a while. And, I don't know. The open house is like Olivia said, you're getting all this flotsam and jetsam in there. I don't know about you, but over the years, if, I've got a couple of clients off of open houses. It's a miracle. I really don't want to be dealing with a bunch of people that I don't know coming in for who knows what reason, because, like Carlos said, I don't know why they went loose on open houses. They're not necessary during a seller's market. Absolutely. And you're putting the risk on your seller,
Yeah.
and everybody's got a different position on whether they want to get a vaccine or they don't want to get a vaccine. Are you transmitting if you had a vaccine? Now people are going to be all loose because they're not going to be wearing the mask like they used to, and blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of unnecessary exposure when there's enough exposure already. I used to sit in my listings and, back when it was like way early in it, and I would just sit there and freak out going, how many people have I just been exposed to, even with masks and gloves and using up a whole can of Lysol in 2 days. It's like, what did I just do? And I'm kind of at that point now is, do I really want to put myself in that position? Because there's still a lot of people walking around that may or may not know if they're transmitting the disease. And, I'm just really not into being a guinea pig.
Yeah, I think it's evolved a lot. And my opinions on it have evolved a lot too. I think that we were very cautious last year because we didn't know what this virus would do and how it was transmitted. And so there were a lot of rules imposed that now, 9, 10, 11 months later have been found to not have actually been the case. But it really made us rethink how we interact with people and how we interact with our open houses. And I agree that most of the time the open house is for the agent. I've talked to a lot of brokers where they say, well, that's one of the best ways for brand new agents to get in front of people. It absolutely is. And it is a way for more experienced agents to get in front of people. I was talking to a broker last week who said, well, I've got a couple of high-end listings that are not moving. This is what I need to do in order to get them sold. And you know what? That's probably true. That hasn't been our experience because in our area, what's priced properly for the neighborhood will sell. And so we haven't needed the open houses. But I think there were a lot of sellers who, just assumed prior to COVID, before COVID, that open houses were the way to go. And so sometimes we would do open houses for seller appeasement, because it made them feel like we were doing our job when the reality is the market was going to do it for us. So there's a lot of different reasons for the open houses. I personally feel like, they're not needed at this time. And there's enough interest to just go ahead and have appointments that are staggered in such a way that it's fair for everybody. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the potential buyer habits have changed a little bit because my strategy used to be how I was a huge proponent of doing open houses because people were running around on the internets looking at all the homes, and I just make it easy for them to come in, and then they'd go get their agent. But in a kind of a bizarre little twist, I think that being the realtor for a buyer, your importance has changed over the past year because people couldn't get into houses. They had to use a realtor to get into the house. They had to have the realtor sign the forms to get them in and make the appointments and everything. And it's, it'd be kind of nice if we kept it where buyers felt like they needed to have an agent's representation to get them into a house. So it would be kind of nice if we keep that going. And and this is coming from somebody, I've always been a proponent of open houses because that's where the market was. I don't know if the market is going to be back there yet. There was a couple of other things that were on the quick guide that we didn't touch on yet, and I know one of them we have a question in the chat about it. There are, what other precautions should be taken? I think keeping air circulation is a very wise thing, and for them to call that out, it's common sense. But you just really kind of need to keep the windows open. If it's a hot day, be sure you have the AC or fans running to blow the air around. That would be wise. But number 12, does this change any protocols for appointment-based individual showings? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I read that, and to me, nothing's changed on that. because it talks about whether you're using a lockbox or an appointment, you know, you still need to comply with the same rules relating to masks, hand sanitizer, social distancing, and following the posted rules. You still have to have some type of sign-in, either the PED or the sign-in form or they're digital. You still have to agree to the posted rules of entry and the prevention plan, and declare that no one is sick. So to me, nothing changed there. And so in their response, they don't answer the question. It says, does this change any protocols? And they don't say yes or no. They just explain what the protocols are. And to me, that's what we were already doing. So to me, that was no change. But if you're not sure, read it, make sure you understand that this is what is expected.
And I think the only thing to really take away from that paragraph, because the question was, what information should be included on sign-in sheet if an agent seller chooses to do sign-in rather than a PED, which that paragraph allows, we have the sign-in sheet. CAR made a sign-in sheet. So you can use this, which is kind of good because it's saying, you know, that you agree to follow the broker's prevention plan, which can be accessed at the address below. You agree to the posted rules of entry, which is basically saying washing your hands or using hand sanitizer, wearing a mask, and practicing social distancing, and also that you're making a representation that you are not sick or think that you have been around somebody. It's kind of interesting because if you're asking somebody to sign in, they're not taking a copy of this, but it gives the link for all of the documents. But if you want a hard copy, they say, you know, put your email, and there's a little box that says request copy of documents. So people signing in can say, email these to me. And it has their name, signature, email, phone number, and the time entered, as well as a request copy of the documents. So you can use these as sign-in sheets. It looks very official, much more official than, you know, a sign-in register, because, you know, I would think that people would be giving you the true information here, because it's like, I need this versus sign in so I can harass you for the rest of your days. So
yeah, that's a good point. I think the meat of this document gets lost, though, in my opinion.
I personally think so too. I would feel better just having each person, you know, signing the PED form, whatever, and having, you know, having the documents there. You want to take it with you, you know, just so you can be sure, you know. But
well, and this is form PSI. That's the name of it, PSI. And under section 3, there is A, B, and C. Those are the 3 pieces of information that the person entering is attesting to, that to the best of their knowledge, they're not currently affected, they're not experiencing fever, etc. And you will inform the broker if after the date you entered, there's a change. So those are the 3 pieces of information that they're required to certify, and then you have to have this contact info. So if you wanted to, you know, I do agree, this does make it look more official than just, hey, yeah, sign in because I want to capture your information. But I don't personally feel that it highlights it. I wish they would have done it in landscape form, made it look more like a sign-in sheet, and then they could have made that section in bold, and it would have fit on the page. Yeah. So, you know, you may want to, I personally, if I was holding an open house, I might draw a red box around that just so that it's like noticeable.
mm-hmm.
That's what I would do.
Exactly. And let's see, we have another question from Vicky saying, does this mean we are able to door knock now?
I haven't heard any comment on whether door knocking is allowed or not. So I don't have an answer for that. I would err on the side of no, because now you are imposing yourself on others versus allowing people to come in. So, you know, you can drop, but door knocking, they haven't made any comment on that one way or another. So I think that suggests that they're not encouraging it and it's not allowed.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I did hear someone several weeks ago say, oh, I heard it was allowed as long as you knock on the door and then back up 6 feet. And I'm like, okay, okay, I guess.
Of like the solar sales people do that. And I'm just like, what are you've already touched my doorbell and go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people have to remember is we as individuals want to choose what we engage ourselves in. And so if I choose to go to a store, that's my choice. I can go in, they're going to let me in. If I choose to go to a restaurant, they're going to let me in. If I choose to meet with a friend, they're going to say yes or no. But to go up to a stranger and knock on their door, I think that's kind of not okay right now. I know I would be like, who the hell is knocking on my door? I mean, if I'm not expecting a package, I'm not answering my door.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like people at my door anyhow, under the best of circumstances. And you know what? My suggestion would be this: if you want to be out, if you want to be seen, if you want to be out where the homeowners can talk to you, go personally door drop on a Saturday morning when people are out front mowing, washing their cars, doing whatever, where you're not imposing on them, but conversations can take place. It's a little bit more organic anyhow. I'm giving away my tips on what I plan to be doing. But then you're not imposing yourself on, having to get up, answer the door. Here's the other thing. I'm going to say this because this happened to me and I wasn't a happy camper. I had somebody at my door that was not leaving. I have my dog now that when I need her to bark, she doesn't. But when I don't need her to bark, she does. And she decided she did not like this person standing in front of the house. So I'm sitting here like, the good thing about COVID is we can wear a bathrobe till whatever time we feel like, because every day is Blur's day. And I was in my robe and jammies a little later than most people probably would have been, because that's when I do my best work. And I got the dog barking like crazy. This person sitting on my porch, not leaving. I'm in a robe at an ungodly time of day. And I have to get up because the person won't take off until I answer the friggin' door, get up in my bathrobe, round up my dog to get the dog to quit barking and say, what do you want? Have you considered solar? And I'm like, I'm a real estate agent. I hate solar. Oh, okay. And I'm just like, I mean, I was actually really pissed off because the person wouldn't leave when nobody was answering the door. So, I mean, when you're out there, be cognizant that a lot of people's lives are not the same as they were. People are working from home. People have dogs that they didn't have in 2019, because we know everybody was out there getting pandemic puppies. Hopefully they keep their pandemic puppies. I've been hearing that a lot of dogs are going back to pounds and shelters,
Really?
which is really heartbreaking. Yeah, when people had to go back to work.
Oh.
But, I mean, just be considerate. People's lives have changed. And, Lori and I were talking about it. Our introvert sides have really come out quite a bit. And I don't like people that I don't know on my front porch. I don't. And don't make my dog bark. And that's that. Well, let's see what else is in this we got a lot of comments going here. Let's see. Joyce Endo says, conundrum when the open house agent does not have the CAR sign-in sheet, especially if a PED has not been signed. Yeah, that's kind of like being completely underprepared. I think I would keep some PED copies. I think I'm going to seriously do that. Just copy the PEDs with a business card and just, here you go. And then that way, nobody can say I didn't do it.
Yeah, then you're compliant.
And then let's see, Jeff Campbell wants us to do math, which I think is cruel. Let's see, real estate math question. As we're in the orange tier and the interior occupancy maxes out at 25%, how many more people can be in a 900 square foot condo versus a 4,000 square foot house if you include the closets in the condo and not the house? Jeff, all I can say is come out of the closet.
I have an answer too. It's not as good though. I was going to say that number is area code 619-992-858 something.
He also gave us what he did this weekend. Fast, hard landing, like Iron Man landing on knees, punching the asphalt.
Okay.
Jeff's been busy. Okay, let's see. And let's see. Are there any responsibilities on brokers from his agents conducting open houses and potentially being exposed during open house? Hmm, what do you
I
think
don't
about
know.
that?
That's a $1 million question. I mean, and that's why in that listing addendum, it talks about if the seller allows the open houses, they're going to assume the responsibility. The broker is always going to have, the broker will always be pulled into something, whether they have the ultimate responsibility or not, and whether they prevail or not, is, I think, will depend on, did you have your protocols? Did you follow your protocols? Did you do everything you possibly could to protect yourself? Jeff and I had a great conversation about that last week. And all you can do is demonstrate that you did the right thing, you were compliant, you did all of the efforts you possibly could to protect everybody. And ultimately, it's going to be up to judge and jury to decide. And until we have that test case, we don't know.
Is there anything that a broker could do regarding like office procedures for, the agents letting them know that they're doing open houses? I mean, the question kind of begs, at what point, if the agent's going to come back and say, hey, broker, I got COVID because I did an open house, and the broker's like, I didn't tell you to do an open house. What'd you do an open house for? I kind of see that conversation going on first. I mean, what would be a good recommendation for brokers out there that are listening to this for a conversation they should have with their agents?
Well, I mean, the conversation starts with, hey, so the guidance has changed, and here's what our broker policy is. We're going to follow these protocols, whether it's the CAR guidance and more, or whether it's completely your own that conforms to this guidance, that's fine. But as a broker, you're responsible from the Department of Real Estate to supervise your agents. So you can't claim, I didn't know they were doing open house. Even if you didn't know, you need to know. You're supposed to know, you're expected to know. So, it really comes down to the culture of the company. How well do you notify your agents of the requirements or the rules? And then how well do they communicate back? I mean, I think it would be very useful and very beneficial for a broker at this point in time to say, until further notice, I need to know what you're doing in terms of open houses. It's great you want to have it, you can follow the protocols, but I need to be notified, and create some sort of process for them to notify you that, hey, this weekend, these days, I'm doing an open house. In terms of the agent actually getting sick, I mean, that falls under like workers' compensation potentially. Is it, and I don't even know what the rules are on what the position is at this point, because at one point it was, well, the employer is responsible, and then it became the employer was not responsible. I don't know if we flip-flopped back and forth on that one, because it's more workplace, and up to this point our personal workplace was not really open. It was there, and if anyone needed to go by, we had protocols at the office, but we weren't all together. So I would say the bigger your company is, you may want to talk to an HR professional or an attorney just to make sure you have everything that you possibly can have to protect the company.
And looking at this from a salesperson's licensee position, we're technically independent contractors. Even broker associates are independent contractors. Would that provide the broker any protection? Because the broker can't say you have to do an open house between 1 and 4, because if that's the case, then you're mandating that they're doing work at a certain location at a certain time. And if you just hold an open house because it's part of your independent contractor duties, self-imposed duties, I should say, would that offer a broker any protection, or am I like really thinking out?
I mean, that question, similar questions have come up before. We're governed by different governmental entities, and so Department of Real Estate says, well, they're independent contractors, yet you have the ultimate responsibility, Mr. or Mrs. Broker, to supervise. So from their point of view, you'd be fully liable. From the IRS, there's different guidelines. From workers' comp, there's different guidelines. And so there is no one answer. I think that anybody who wants to claim they were hurt, damaged, wronged, whatever, is going to pull in every stop, every angle they can. And will the fact that they're independent contractors protect us as a broker? To some extent, but not if we're failing to supervise. That's going to weigh in, because then even if it's not the Department of Real Estate that is doing an investigation on us, they still have to look at your responsibilities as the broker for your licensing agency who's saying you have to supervise. Well, you didn't do the standard of care of supervising, so therefore they might say you're responsible. So it's a lot of like spaghetti noodles just weaved together, and we don't know. So all you can do is have your protocols in place, document that you've educated your agents on it, you've trained them on it, they know what to do, and maybe you should have a process for them to notify you of open houses. Where it will help you is you can say, hey, you didn't follow our protocols, and therefore, maybe we let you go as an agent because you're not following our rules, you're putting us at risk. I don't know.
And Jeff Campbell, who has been extremely chatty in the chat today. Number one, Jeff, if it's an Amazon package, I'm taking it. I don't care who it comes from, because something will be in that box, whether I need it or not. And two, the makeup at this point doesn't matter anymore. And three, let's see, he kind of emphasized what you were saying. And now one thing that I think is funny, he says, if you don't follow policy, we'll send you to the competition. Some will, some won't. It's kind of sad, but
you solve the problem for you, but you don't solve the problem for the industry. That's the sad part. And I don't disagree with him. I mean, because that's what happens. It's just they're still out there. Yeah,
they're still out there. They're still out there. I mean, that's kind of the amazing thing. I was having a conversation with a broker about a potential bad actor that had numerous suspensions and stays on his broker's license. And it was amazing that this guy's still out there doing business, kind of, not doing it well by any stretch, not having the seller's fiduciary duty as their main guide. But if you get a DUI, you lose your license. I mean, it's bad, but what's bad? How bad is bad?
Hey, it's up to the Department of Real Estate. I've known agents that have 2 DUIs that didn't even have a restricted license. So they look at things on a case-by-case basis, and maybe if this person had a bunch of other things too, that would help. But
I don't know. I saw somebody with federal tax fraud charges. I was like, wow, the bar is really low, isn't it?
Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, it's an interesting world we are in out there. And the good thing is everybody that's here takes this job seriously. It is a profession, and we can be professionals, and knowledge is power. So, based on this, it's 10:03. We've got a lot of great comments. I did put in the chat the link to the CAR COVID legal documents page that once you sign in should get you all of the lovely documents we've been discussing today, as well as the new posting and the quick guide. So I think, if you do anything today, go hit that link, go read some forms, go read the quick guide, and share it with your office. If you're the manager, schedule a meeting sooner rather than later. If you're an independent broker, just get studying the best you can. And I think Lori gave some very good insight on that. Should we be expecting anything from local associations, do you think? You mentioned LA, the LA area. Are they hearing some stuff up there?
I haven't heard anything since Friday, so I don't have any update on that. I'm a member of 2 associations, and I have received some info from both. So I think, just keep your eyes and ears open, for anything coming from your local association and CAR, because we don't know what else may change. An email that I got on Friday suggested that there could be more changes coming, but they weren't specific whether it was about this topic, the open houses, or whether it was about anything else. I didn't see anything come through, so maybe something today, and if we see it, we'll announce it. Otherwise, this is what we know as of this moment, and who knows in the last hour if we've gotten any other emails. So.
Yeah, it's going to be changing a lot, and on a lot of counts, everything's changing. It's the rollout that I personally thought we would be doing in June is already starting on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
And, it's just going to be stay on top of things, keep your ears open, check your emails, check your, if you're like a Gmail user, check your updates and check your promotions, because a lot of this stuff lands in places that is not like where you think you're going to see it. It just shows up. And, we'll try to keep everybody posted the best we can here on the page. I mean, this is why this group was set up in the first place, was, keeping people in the know by posting where they can go to see things. And a lot of the things that I post personally, I'm just doing a copy and paste on, the email that came out Friday night. I saw somebody popped up on a thread on my phone, in a messenger group. And, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll read it later. Probably should have read it then, but I didn't. But the next day, all I did was copy and paste it and put it into the feed. So in case you missed it, it's in there. And I'm going word for word for whatever I'm getting from NAR, CAR, or whatever source it is. I'm just doing a cut and paste, and any links that we can put in, we will. Lori's far better on the elaboration of how these things can impact us. I'm just the messenger, but she's more of the one to really analyze and look at it, because that's why she's the compliance queen. She has earned that crown.
Well, thank you. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the information, but I've got some other great people that I can collaborate with and get other points of view too. So thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
And we do have a question specific to you in the chat.
Okay.
Is that wallpaper on your wall? It's gorgeous. And that's from Olivia.
Well, thank you, Olivia. It is not wallpaper. It is actually a photography backdrop, because I cannot do these virtual backgrounds. And so it makes me really happy. On Zoom, I get to see it, you get to see it, and it makes me happy. So.
And that's really all that matters right now. Yeah. Okay, so
I do have two quick announcements.
Oh, okay.
We need to remind all of our Orange County Realtor friends about the election, the Board of Directors election. So if you have not voted, you have until next Monday evening to vote. So look in your inbox for your email with your link to vote. And then also on Wednesday, this Wednesday, if you are in the Woman Up Facebook group, and if you're not and want to be, let us know. But I will be on a panel Wednesday on their Wednesday Wisdom series on starting a brokerage. And so if you're interested in that, I'm going to pop the link in a few minutes because I've got to locate it. But those are two announcements that I have.
Fantastic. And the only announcement I have is Tuesdays at 3:30 in the afternoon. If you want to get an economic update, which seems that our Talk Nerdy to Me has gone full economic update. We're on Clubhouse. And if you need an invite, let me know. It works now for Androids and iPhones. And also, I'm kind of bouncing around. I'm thinking, we talked about, we haven't formalized it, but let us know if you'd be interested in a little Clubhouse. What would I call it? Happy hour cocktails and compliance.
Oh no. Okay.
That would have to be held later in the day.
Sales and compliance. Wow. Okay.
Well, you can only have so much coffee.
True.
So if anybody's interested in that, just drop it into the links. Yes, let's see. Olivia says, yes, please invite to Clubhouse, any and all. I mean, it's definitely, it's interactive. If you guys haven't tried it, I know Pam's on, Olivia's on. It's kind of an interesting concept. It's like an interactive podcast. No, it's not another Zoom, Jeff. You can wear your bathrobe and you don't have to put makeup on for Clubhouse. That's one thing that's kind of nice about it. But if you're interested, let us know, and maybe we'll do that just for giggles. But yeah,
there'll be a lot of giggles.
It'd be a lot of giggles. Yeah, it'd be fun to like share your recent real estate horror stories, because we can all learn off of those too, and just have some fun and chit chat and stuff. So if anybody's interested, just let me know, drop me a line, and we can figure out a date and a time, because I know we have lots of things to do, but every now and then we just need to relax. But okay, all right, we are 10 minutes past 10, so we're going to wrap this bad boy up, and thank you all for being with us. If you felt that this information today was useful, especially because of the topic, be sure to share it with your friends. We're going to have it here on the Nerdy Real Estate Resources page. Also, I will be sure that we get it over to YouTube as quickly as we possibly can. So then if you want to share it with anybody, you can refer to the YouTube page. I'll put the link for the YouTube into the chat on the group as soon as I get that set up. So thank you very much for joining us. You guys all have a wonderful day. Go out there and safely sell a house.
Yes. Take care, everyone. Bye.